One of the problems involving money is when people borrow or owe you money for services rendered. The act of demanding payments is referred to as small claims. That is why former Supreme Court Chief Justice Rene came up with the rule of procedure for small claims cases. This rule of procedure allows any individual or business to file a case against someone who owes them money. This rule of procedure was specifically created for those involved in civil litigations for sums of money of no more than 100,000 pesos. The objective of this rule is to resolve these cases at the quickest time possible, cutting costs of litigation and widening access to courts. What then are the procedures for filing for small claim cases? Which court handles these cases? And how are these cases resolved? Good evening. You're watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you. I'm Attorney Nepomuceno.
And I am Attorney Richie Pilares, sitting in for Attorney Karen Jimeno. Tonight, we will discuss your legal rights on small claims cases, what you need to know about small claims, and what you need to do to file for these.
And our guests for tonight are Attorney Ricardo Pilares Jr. and Attorney Ana Nava, associate from the Lu Mamangan Huko Law Office. Good evening, Ana, and good evening, Rick. Thank you for joining us. You know, this is a very interesting topic because I think it affects most people. Yes. To some extent, all of us are involved in some kind of debt or money claim. Right? It's part of our daily lives, and it's either they're claiming against us or we're claiming against someone. Yes. And I think it's also important to stress itong what we call small claims, yes. Because usually a lot of people are a bit wary when they file claims against people, legal claims in court, because one, they don't want to file a case in court. It's too costly. It's such a hassle. You have to hire a lawyer. But this procedure that we're going to talk about, specifically small claims, we do away with all of that, right? So we're going to address that tonight. So let's start off, Richie.
So, Attorney Rick, can you please tell us more of what are small claims and how much should the claim be to qualify or to be considered as a small claim?
Small claims cover all cases involving 100,000 pesos and less, exclusive of the cost and interest.
Okay, so 100,000 and less. So in other words, if, for example, I enter into a contract and it's 101,000 pesos, it's not covered.
It is not covered,
so
absolutely.
You have to go to the regular courts.
Yes, the law is very clear.
All right, can you tell us, Ana, what makes this small claims procedure so special? Because this is interesting. I know that our guests are lawyers. But from what we know, lawyers are not involved in this procedure, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
The lawyers are prohibited to appear before a small claims court, basically because the purpose of small claims, especially the rules on small claims, is to abbreviate or to shorten the usual regular court processes or undergone by. For example, in collection cases. And also, lawyers, the presence of a lawyer in this kind of issues would actually obfuscate or confuse the issues. Confuse the issues.
Because we lawyers tend to confuse things. Well, you know, let's face it, diba? As a lawyer, you normally try to you promote everything, you hype up everything that's good about your case, and you try to diminish or try to hide anything that will be bad for your case. In this case, it's just the plaintiff versus the defendant.
The defendant,
right?
Correct.
Okay.
So who can file this small claim?
Actually, any person can file.
So even a company, can a company file, or it has to be a natural person?
Of course, the party here is the company, but the company cannot act by itself. So it has to have a representative, and the representative must have must be armed with a secretary certificate or a board resolution authorizing him to represent the company or corporation before the small claims court.
So no matter how big the company is, let's say it's a multi-billion peso company, Attorney Rick. Even if it's that kind of a company, they can go to a small claims court.
They can, as long as the claim falls within the jurisdictional amount of 100,000 pesos or less, exclusive of cost and interest.
All right. So that's interesting. Yes, Richie.
So where do you file these cases, these small claims?
Cases involving small claims in Metro Manila are usually filed in Metropolitan Trial Court. In the provinces, you filed it in the Municipal Trial Court in cities and Municipal Trial Court in provinces, and this also include Municipal Circuit Trial Court.
All right. Now, what are the cases involved? When you say you have a money claim, it involves a number of possible scenarios. Like, for example, let's say a couple, a married couple that's separated, for example, and the wife wants to claim for support, and what she's asking for, let's say, is only 50,000 a month, which is less than 100,000. Would that technically fall under the small claims procedure?
Well, the law specifically provides that the claims are limited to money claims.
Okay, money claims.
So if it involves specific performance, it should not be filed in the small claims court. It should be filed in the family court, which has jurisdiction. If that is filed in the small claims court will dismiss the same for lack of jurisdiction.
So dapat it has to be a money claim.
Yes, money claims or claims for damages.
But let's say you're saying specific performance is not included in this kind of case. No? But let's say it's a contract for services. The contract for services, what are the specific, I guess, transactions in human transactions, interhuman transactions that are covered by small claims? For example, would it cover rent? Let's say
Lease,
contract of lease. Ganun. What types of transactions are involved?
The law specifically provides contract of loan.
Loan, okay.
Contract for lease.
Okay.
Contract of services. Contract of mortgage.
Mortgage, okay.
Yes.
Right.
And then, in addition to that, the rules also covers damages arising from fault or negligence or culpa quiliana,
so mga, let's say,
quasi-delict, quasi-contract.
mga banggaan ng konti, mga small bumps like that. Pwede yan.
Yeah.
Diba? You hit my bumper and it costs around, 20,000 pesos, for example. That's covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about there are cases when parties agree in the barangay level, right? They agree na I have a claim against you, and before the barangay official, we agree that you will pay me this certain amount.
Yeah.
And this person does not pay me. Can I still go to the small claims court and ask for the enforcement of my amicable settlement with Attorney Rod, for example?
Actually, in the execution of amicable settlement or compromise agreement, arrive at the barangay conciliation may be executed within 6 months. And after the lapse of that period, and the compromise settlement has been repudiated or has not been complied with, the aggrieved party may resort to filing small claims before the municipal trial court.
So 6 months? So you have to wait for 6 months before you can go?
That's specifically under the local government code. After the lapse of 6 months, the aggrieved party may seek the assistance of the municipal trial.
But that only applies, though, in a case where there's, both parties are in the same barangay, right? Because, for example, if we're not in the same barangay, then obviously I can go directly to a small claims court, right? Because conciliation in barangay disputes normally involve people who aren't from the same barangay. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So basically, if we're not in the same barangay, then I can go directly to a small claims court.
Yes.
Correct? All right. Now, can you tell us a little bit more on the procedure? No? Because I think one of the problems for most people, whenever they have a claim, no, they normally get discouraged filing cases in court, no? Regional trial court, and because of the multifarious requirements, diba? The photocopying of the pleading and all that, the evidence that you have to attach and all that. Can you tell us the simplified procedure for people who want to make a claim in a small claims court? Rick?
There are ready forms available in the office of the clerk of court.
Okay.
they made it very simple and inexpensive to the point that you only have to submit a verified statement of claims, and then you attach the certification against forum shopping, and a certified true copy of your actionable documents.
Okay.
As simple as that, and then you have to pay the corresponding summons fee and fees for services in court. And then on the other part of the part of the defendants, he has to file a verified response within non-extendable period of 10 days.
Non-extendable. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So if walang reply, if walang answer, the court can, the judge can decide based on the complaint?
Summarily, the judge can render judgment based on the allegations in the complaint. But the judge also has the right to dismiss outright the complaint if there is
On the
lack of
face.
jurisdiction, or if there is valid defenses such as, for instance, res judicata or offsetting of the claims already admitted by the parties.
So earlier you mentioned about the filing of statement of claim. So do you just file papers, or do you have to pay for a
Docket
certain
fees
fee?
or- yeah.
Yes, when you file a case for small claims.
There is a filing fee of 1,000 pesos, aside from the 1,000 pesos for service of summons and court processes. Now, there is an instance wherein a litigant can be treated as pauper, in which case he will be exempted from the payment of the required filing fees. Now, in the event the litigant is disqualified to litigate as pauper litigant, then he is given 5 days to file the corresponding filing fee, and in the event he does not pay the required filing fee, the case will be dismissed without prejudice, which means it can be refiled later.
Can be refiled again. All right. So just to summarize that, you just fill up the form, and then you have to verify it. And
Yes.
in layman's term, verify it. You take an oath to it, right?
Yes.
So and then after that, you have all the evidence. You attach all the evidence there, and then what happens then when you file it? What happens? Does the court? The court will then require the other party to answer, right?
To answer, correct.
And then once there's been an answer, the answer and the complaint has been consolidated, what happens after that?
There is this so-called judicial dispute resolution.
All right. JDR. Okay.
JDR, in
Okay.
which case the judge will exert all effort to have the parties enter into amicable settlement.
This is still not yet the
Not the
trial.
hearing yet.
The trial.
This is
proceedings.
not a trial. Everything
This
is informal. There are no technicalities. There is a friendly atmosphere. The judge will encourage the parties to amicably settle their
So parang
respective
ganun,
claims.
ayusin nyo na yan, ganun.
Yes, yes.
You don't, you don't dispute naman, may utang ka dito. Parang
Yes.
ganun lang yung,
Yes.
yung discussion. All right. All right.
And the judge will even speak in the local dialect,
Okay.
so that
And
the
then,
parties will feel at ease.
if they cannot fix things in that JDR, it then goes to what? What happens then?
The executive judge may assign it to another court branch for hearing. The hearing is only 1 day, and exactly on the same date, decision will be rendered by the court.
Oh, that was really fast.
So it's really quick. Okay, good. Great.
Well, actually, we have a few questions from our viewers. The question is from Julia. I'm an online seller of branded items. A woman approached me wanting to resell my products. At first, business with her was good. She pays me on time. She won my trust. Then it came to a point where she stopped paying me and has avoided me completely. The last time we spoke was October last year, and it's already May. She owes me 60,000. What evidence should I present in order to file a small claims case against her? Will pictures of items she took from me help my case?
Okay, yun nga online to, no? It's an online case. I think she like they had similar, like for example Facebook, or you
Yes,
put
because
it
there are
on,
online sellers
yeah.
now.
And then someone was getting from her, no? And then so she would, I guess they would meet somewhere.
Yes.
She
Or
would give the
have it
items. She would give the
delivered.
items, and I would assume there's no document here, no? Because the only thing
No
she was
document.
saying was parang ano.
Everything is online.
Yeah. So with an oral, I guess, purchase, if that woman acted like a reseller, in that scenario, can that case prosper in a small claims court?
Yes, of course, it will. It can prosper as a small claims case.
Even if there's no contract of reselling, for example.
Even if there's no contract. Actually, what is being asked there is what evidence can she use against the other party. She can use her online communication with the other party.
Email na parang,
Facebook messages.
Can I get this bag or whatever, di ba? Okay. So based on that, the court can rule based on those.
Based on those, the court may grant her claims against the other party.
All right. So another question naman. Luke is asking, I owe more than 50,000 pesos from a bank or to a bank, I guess, via credit card about 9 years ago. I have been jobless since 2012, and last April I have received the formal demand letter from a law office asking me to pay 20,000 pesos to erase my debt, so to speak. But I cannot pay that amount either. What will happen to me if I cannot pay my debt? Will I be arrested and put into jail? Okay, there's an interesting principle of law here. So, Attorney Rick, I'll give you the pleasure to answer this. Can he go to jail?
No person shall be imprisoned for non-payment of debt.
Okay.
That is very clear. That is a constitutional provision. And the case can only be referred to small claims court for the enforcement of money claims.
All right. Okay. So, in that case, what he'll do is just, I guess, receive those letters if he cannot pay. Yeah? It's up to the bank to really enforce it.
Correct.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay. Andrew shared this question. Somebody owes me money and used the title to their house as collateral. We had an agreement that they will pay me within 1 year's time. However, after 2 years, they still haven't paid me back because I learned that they also owed money to another person and they were prioritizing that debt while neglecting their debt to me. I already sent a final demand letter which they received personally, but they still didn't pay me. I live in Parañaque while they live in Alabang. Where should I file a case against them? Should they still fail to honor their debt? What will be the next step?
Okay. Anna, you want to take a shot at that?
Okay. Actually, the rules of procedure on small claims did not mention about the venue of small claims cases. So what are we going to apply in this case is the rules under the civil procedure, that is the venue for personal actions. In that case,
because they apply suppletorily.
Lillian may file the small claims case with the court or the the Metropolitan Trial Court of Parañaque, or in Alabang at her election.
So it's up to her.
It's up to her.
Okay. Now, does it matter that because according to her that the title was collateralized? Of course, she's probably using that in a very loose sense. I mean, collateral or mortgaging is it's a legal term, no? So good. I guess they gave her a copy of the title, or I don't know if there was a deed of sale to her. Will that have any impact at all? Especially consider, let's say, for example, that the title of that land na parang sinangla, so to speak, collateralized is more than 100,000. Attorney Rick, would that have any? Would that have any? I guess relevance? Na yung parang sinangla niyang title is more than more likely more than 100,000 pesos. So.
If that exceeds the jurisdictional amount of 100,000 pesos, I am referring to the principal amount. It should be filed in the regular court.
Yeah, but in this case, I think it's 50,000 lang.
50,000 that falls within the jurisdiction. That
even if yung sinangla or kinolateralized na title is more than 50,000, that's fine.
Yes. It's focused on the claims.
All right. Okay. Now, we have a question from Lelaine. Should I personally write the demand letter, or can I ask for the help of a lawyer? And do I have to personally give the letter to the person who owes me money, or can I just have it mailed to them? Why is it important for the person to receive it personally instead of through a courier? So the first question is, can you ask a lawyer to assist you? I guess there's no problem there. No?
Yeah.
As long as they don't appear, as long as the lawyer does not appear with you.
Does not appear.
All right. The second question, I think, that's more her question, is
on how do you serve your demand letter?
How do you serve the demand letter? I guess she's talking about demand letter pa lang, hindi pa not the summons. All right. So, is there a specific way? I mean, first of all, does the small claims court require that you had issued demand letters to the one you're claiming against? Will that be required by the small claims court?
Actually, there's no specific requirement for that. Demand letters are important in a sense that they can be used as an evidence for the claim.
So it's not the necessity or the requirement before you can go to the small claims court. All right.
Yes, but of course we have to consider, if I can share my experience.
Absolutely.
You need the demand letter, because without a demand letter, then there will be no delay on the part of the other party. Is that
right?
Do you agree, Attorney?
So a demand letter would be ideal, most ideal.
Yes.
All right. We'll need to take a short break. Legal Help Desk will be right back. Don't go away. You're still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel with Attorney Ricardo Pilares Jr. and Attorney Ana Nava. All right, so we talked about kind of the procedure in filing a claim in a small claims court. And you mentioned, Attorney Rick, that usually it takes a day, no? Or it is required that the judge will have to make a decision within that day.
Within that day.
And from your experience, that's what's been happening, right?
Well, based on my observations, I have not heard of a single judge who was not able to render a decision within that day.
All right. Now, what if you want to appeal it? Let's say
you lose.
Yeah, you lose. You're not happy with the decision.
Yes.
What is your remedy?
Well, incidentally, the law on small claims says the decision is unappealable. It cannot be appealed.
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think that they said unappealable? I mean, it's still possible that you're going to have, let's say, an unfair judge, right, or a biased judge. Why do you think they made it unappealable, Ana? Or do you think it's just part of making it more expeditious?
Basically, because of that. Remember that the purpose of the small claims is to abbreviate the ordinary or court processes,
So basically, to abbreviate it, the presumption is the judge will probably make the right call, considering that it's just a small claim. Now, I can understand. Now, however, in a case like that, no exceptions to the rule, Attorney Rick? I mean, no exceptions to the rule? I mean, is there any exception to that?
When the law does not distinguish, we should not distinguish.
All right. Okay.
I think that the purpose is to make the procedure simple and less expensive.
Okay. So that's a lesson to our televiewers out there. No? So basically, if you file a case in a small claims court, that's it. No more appeal. No more appeal to the Court of Appeals or Regional Trial Court or Supreme Court. All right, Richie?
So now that we have this small claims court, what will be the role of the barangay, if any? Will the barangay
still have a role? Would they, Ana?
Definitely, the barangay still has a role, because under the local government code, unless otherwise provided under that law, all petitions or cases should be first referred to the barangay for conciliation. And thereafter, the Lupon Secretary or the Pangkat Secretary will issue a certification that there has been a confrontation between the two parties, or that that there was no compromise agreement that had been arrived at. And then after that, the party, if there is no settlement that has been arrived at the barangay conciliation, the party may file his claim with the small claims court, provided that the amount is within the jurisdictional amount of the small claims court. Okay,
we have a caller online, so it's a good opportunity to have the question answered. Dang of Caloocan. Good evening, Dang. Are you there? Hi.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. What is your question?
Actually, it's about the annual percentage rate of the money that somebody owes me. It's related to a land, actually, that my mom bond or mortgaged. I'm not sure of the legal term, but this person owes me 100,000 because of that land.
Okay. So
which was inherited by my mom. I'd like to know, because it's been 16 years, I'd like to know how much would be the annual percentage rate that is legal to put on top of the amount, and if it still is a small claims. I mean,
but I think your question is, does your claim of 100,000 still fall under the small claims court procedure? Is that correct?
Yes. And how much is the percentage rate? After the percentage rate, annual percentage rate is added onto it, will it still be under the small claims?
Okay. Attorney Rick, you mentioned earlier that the principal amount, diba? Is the principal amount?
As long as the principal amount is 100,000 pesos or less, that case still falls within the jurisdiction of the small claims court. When you said exclusive of cost and interest, even if the amount is more than 100,000 pesos, including interest and other charges, that case will still be entertained by the small claims court based on the jurisdictional amount of 100,000 pesos or less.
Okay.
But may I also ask how much is the annual percentage rate that's legal to put on top of
there is no,
Actually, if
yes, go
I
ahead.
may answer that, it will depend on your contract with between the creditor and the debtor.
But what if there was no agreement with regards to the rate?
We have a Supreme Court decision to the effect that if the contract is silent regarding the interest, 12% interest per annum shall be imposed.
Oh, I see. Well, I think that satisfies my query, and
All right.
thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Dang. Thank you very much. We hope you answered your question. All right.
Thank you, Dan. We still have
Still have questions?
questions from our viewers. We will start with Marie Chris. My neighbor still owe me 50,000 even if we had an out-of-court settlement. She promised to pay the remaining on a monthly basis. However, we're back to our old setup. She continuously failed to pay me each month. What should I do?
Attorney Nava, in this case, so they had an out-of-court settlement, and it was agreed that someone owes her 50,000, and it was agreed that she would pay monthly, but then she still fails to pay her monthly. That out-of-court settlement. So what can she file a small claims a case in the small claims court?
She may file a small claims with the municipal trial court of in her residence.
So you can implement or execute on or file for a let's say you had an out-of-court settlement, and there was an agreement on that. You can that's one of those claims that you can make. In a
it's
small,
basically a claim for a sum of money. So since it is within the jurisdictional amount of the small claims court, then she may file a small claims with the municipal trial court in her residence.
All right. Okay. So anything else, Richie? Now, when it comes to, why do you think the Supreme Court came up with this rule sometime in 2008, right? Attorney Rick?
That's correct.
Why do you think it, I mean, apart from, let's say, just handling this expeditiously, was there another reason why? Is it to also to unclog the dockets, or would this actually clog the dockets more?
Yes.
Well, that is precisely one of the reasons. Another thing is, for all intents and purposes, litigants are discouraged to approach lawyer for small claims. This is precisely the reason why lawyers are prohibited from appearing in small claims court.
No, when you say prohibited, if you brought a lawyer there, can you lose based on that technicality?
The judge will not allow the lawyer, and the lawyer who appears in small claims court may be charged for gross ignorance of the law.
Okay, and what's the penalty for that lawyer?
Contempt can be penalized for suspension or depending on the findings of the court.
Okay, so we wouldn't want that to happen. Okay, so all right. So our next question is from Noel. My friend promised to pay the 75,000 pesos I lent to her. However, I can't find her now. Well, this is quite typical. I read about the small claims provision, and I worry that because of the provision, the court will just recommend out-of-court settlement. Is my case still under the small claims provision? Anna, I guess it would, right? There's no real reason. This is exactly the type of cases that should fall under the small claims court, right? Okay. All right.
Okay, from Venus, the court ordered my relative to return the 45,000 she owed me. She still ignored the decision. Can I submit my case to the upper court? Is there a need to submit her case in the upper court? According to her question, there was already an order by the court.
There was already an order. May order na yung court.
What's the procedure if there's an order from the court?
Actually, she could file a verified petition for indirect contempt for failure to comply with the decision of the court.
Yes, but that will be a separate case when you speak of a petition for indirect contempt. But she may also file for a motion for execution, perhaps.
That's correct.
Yeah.
A motion for execution.
All right. Motion for execution, yeah.
The decision can still be enforced by mere motion. Motion for execution.
Now, let me ask this question. I guess sometimes, or most of the time, when people file a small claim, and the reason why people can't pay up, some of course are just shrewd and maybe they're malicious, but there are some people who really cannot pay. Once, let's say you file a claim in a small claims court and you win, but the person doesn't have any assets, what happens? Basically there's nothing. He doesn't have anything.
We call that in legal parlance paper execution. You win, but you are not able to enforce the judgment in your favor.
Okay, so can you just wait until that person has money eventually?
Well, the life of the rate of execution by mere motion is 5 years.
Okay.
So since the provisions of the rules of court are suppletory to the small claims cases, there is still this so-called revival of judgment the claim can still be enforced for another 5 years.
All right. Okay, so we have another question from our
this
Facebook
question
page.
is from Aki. Is there a prescriptive period for filing small claims?
That would depend upon the source of the claim, actually. For example, if the source of the claim is upon a written contract, then the prescriptive period for that is 10 years. For quasi-contracts, we have 6 years from the right of action, from the time the right of action accrues. And in case of quasi-delic, we have 4 years from the time the cause of action accrues.
Now, let's. I just have a quick question regarding criminal cases. Now, let's say it's a criminal case, and normally a criminal case, there's also a civil aspect to it, right? Can I? But I want to be able to settle that right away. I want to be able to get and make a claim on that civil aspect because I feel that the criminal case will drag. Can I then separate that civil part and make a small claims a claim in a small claims court?
That is specifically covered by the small claims.
All right,
You have this fault or negligence. You have this quasi-delic and torts. You have to choose. You have to choose between the two remedies available for you.
All right. So at least you don't have to be waiting, in the procedure of the regional trial courts.
This is what we call the independent civil action for damages, which can proceed independently of the criminal action.
Perfect. I think a lot of people will be happy with that. Now, there's another question. Patrick is asking, my mother lent 80,000 pesos to an old friend. They agreed that she will pay the amount in 3 years' time. However, the person concerned moved to the U.S. for good. Is my case still under the small claims provision?
Yes.
Anna, you wanna? So the only issue here is that the defendant flew and went to the U.S. Would that still fall? Can she still file a case, even in absentia?
I doubt it because small claims cases are actually personal actions, and the court must have jurisdiction over the person of the defendant. So. In that case,
so hindi siya masuserve ng summons.
summons cannot be served upon him.
But of course, since the rules of court are suppletorily available, there are extraterritorial service of summons, right? Like they can,
if they know the
they can
address,
resort to publication. So there are other ways to serve the summons under the rules of court, which is suppletorily available.
So if you can't find the defendant, you can continue on with the case, right?
You can still continue because we have this so-called substituted service of summons. The summons can be served to the closest relative who may in turn inform the defendant who is abroad. And if the defendant submitted verified response, then the court acquires jurisdiction over her person.
Okay.
The appearance may be done through representative
Okay.
for valid reason.
All right. Okay. Good.
Grace sent us this question. My husband and I still need to pay 56,000 to a loan agency, but we cannot pay it in full amount. We agreed that we will pay for the balance monthly. The agency also threatened that we will be sued in court if we will not comply. Will the case prosper? I'm aware of the small claims provision. Do we fall under the said category?
Okay, it's 56,000. That's the balance. All right. So I guess they do, right?
Yes,
they fall,
within the jurisdiction
So
of the small
I guess her question is, can the loan agency resort to filing a small claims in the small claims court? They can. It's 56,000, right?
Yes, but just the same, if the case reached the small claims court, the judge will encourage the parties to amicably settle, and she may be allowed to pay by installments.
Pay monthly, okay.
They can submit a compromise agreement to that effect.
In that case naman, parang she's not denying that she owes, right? She owes, so there's no question there. So it's a matter of parang finding a way na lang.
That's a sign of good faith, and to pay by installment is good enough.
Yeah, more often than not, na-resolve na doon during the judicial dispute resolution.
Yes,
right?
the judge will encourage the other party to accept payments by installments.
Okay. Now, a question from Tina. My parents had a payable of 89,000 pesos to a friend. They died last year. Okay, I'm not sure who died, the parents or the one that she owes. Am I the one? Oh, her parents. Okay, her parents died. Am I the one responsible for the payment? No written agreement was made, and I am an only child. So basically, her parents owe 89,000 pesos to someone, and her parents died. Does she inherit? I guess her question is, does she inherit the she liable? Is she liable?
The law provides that it is still covered under the so-called quasi-contract. Claims against the estate is covered by the small claims court. So she can file her claim against the estate court.
Yeah, so you don't just inherit assets, you also inherit liabilities.
But of course, she will only pay, or her liability will only be limited as to the amount that she actually inherited from her parents.
Correct.
Because it will be the estate that will owe the amount, and not her as a child.
And considering that the BIR will probably take a lot of that, and there will be other claims.
Yes.
I don't know how much you're going to have left. No? But technically, just to be very technical about it, yes, the creditor can file a case against you, the heirs. No? Meanwhile, we'll take another short break, but first we would like to thank our guests, Attorney Ricardo Pilares Jr. and Attorney Ana Nava, an associate from the Lu Mamangan Huco Law Office, for being with us tonight. Legal Help Desk will return. Please stay with us. Small claims cases include damages caused to persons Small claims cases include damages caused to persons and property, such as vehicles, money owed under contract of lease, loan, services, sale or mortgage, and bounced or stopped checks. Since the Supreme Court has created the rule of procedure for small claims cases, the procedure are as follows. The plaintiff or the person filing for small claims cases must first accomplish Form 1SCC or Statement of Claim and certify the information they provided. The statement claim must be accompanied by certified duplicate photocopies of supporting documents such as promissory notes, sworn statements of witnesses, receipts, and the like. The plaintiff then files a statement of claim to the small claims court and pays the corresponding fees. The court then informs the defendant that a case has been filed against him or her through a summons. The court then directs the defendant to file his or her response with supporting documents within 10 days from receiving the summons. The court will then schedule a date of hearing. Any decision made by the judge in small claims cases is final and unappealable.
Welcome back to Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel.
Yeah. What an interesting show, no? I mean,
Yes.
I like this particularly, Richie, because there, like I said earlier, almost everyone is involved in some money claim, right? I
Yes.
mean, it's either we owe someone some money or someone owes us money, and more often than not, there's always this dispute. Where someone doesn't want to pay, and they don't want to pay interest, or there's delay of payment. So it's in a way it's very good that this act was issued in 2008. So for those people out there who have I guess people owing you some money, this is one way for you to be able to collect expeditiously if the claim is below 100,000 pesos, right?
Yes.
And maybe we can summarize the procedure, Richie, on how to go about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if their claims are 100,000 and below, then they can go to the municipal trial court or the metropolitan trial court and file a statement of claim, and then
they fill up a form, no?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then they have to pay certain fees. May I just share what I researched on?
Yeah, okay,
According to
go
a
for it.
friend in the Makati office of the clerk of court, you have to pay. If the claim is just 20,000 and below, you have to pay 2,000 plus filing fees.
Okay.
And then if it's 20,000 to 100,000, then you have to pay 2,750 pesos. So it's very affordable to file a small claim.
Not as big as the docket fee.
Yes,
docket
and you don't
fees,
have to
diba?
pay for lawyers because
Don't have to pay
lawyers
for
are
lawyers,
prohibited to appear before a small claims
And
court.
if you have, you were mentioning earlier, if you have multiple claims against one person, you only have to
Yes.
pay an additional amount, right?
If there are more than one defendant, then there's 200 pesos for every defendant.
For every defendant. Okay,
Yes,
and then we file at the municipal trial court or
the
metropolitan
Metropolitan
trial court, and you just need to fill up a form. No, there's a form there, right?
yes.
It's and just basically fill up the form, and then you put all the evidence, attach all the evidence that you have there, and there's no need, there's no real requirement for you to have made a demand letter. However, it is usually recommended that you file the demand
so
letter.
that you can reckon or you can claim that there was delay in payment.
And also, so this covers, ladies and gentlemen, this covers transactions involving leases, for example, and loans. No?
Yes, contracts of service.
Contracts of services and mortgages, and also quasi-delics. No? Kunyari, nagbanggaan kayo, and yun nga, nabangga yung bumper nyo, you got a little bit of a scratch in your car, and let's say it costs around 40,000 pesos, that's within the purview of the small claims court. All right, so we hope we were able to clarify a lot of your questions regarding small claims. All right, now we received a number of questions from viewers on topics that we have previously discussed, and in this segment we will answer them as we recap our show. No? Anthony is asking, my wife is due to give birth anytime now, and I would like to ask, whose PhilHealth account should we use? I am employed at a telecom company while my wife is an individual paying member. Is there any difference as to whose account we will be using? Are there any advantages or disadvantages if we use either accounts? You want to take a crack at that? Yeah.
Sure.
Reggie?
Well, they can use either. They can use the husbands or the wives, because basically the same.
The same naman.
Yes,
Whether
the
you're
same amount
dependent
will be covered.
or you're the principal, policy. PhilHealth member or a dependent. It's usually the same. But there's normally a cap on what you can claim.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter if you're a dependent or the member. All right.
Okay, from Danny, I'm one of our company's pioneer employee. However, our company HR informed us that the resetting of SLVL benefits would be based on the fiscal year cutoff, which is April. Will I get an adjustment in my leave benefits?
I think
definitely yes, because the labor code prohibits diminution of benefits.
Yeah. So basically, if you're already given specific rights,
vested rights,
regarding your sick leaves or your vacation leaves, that can't be lessened.
Yes.
All right. So you can't have a situation where the company will lessen that. All right. So that's specific in the labor code. All right. So next question. Zaldi asks this question. I worked for my employer for 7 years, but unfortunately the company will close, but not for bankruptcy reasons. What will be the benefits of the employees when this happens? What does the company owe us? Now, I guess there's a question here of
it's
why?
not bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's not bankruptcy.
The reason is not bankruptcy.
Yeah, so definitely.
So under the law, they can claim. The labor code provides that they are entitled to separation pay, and if they can prove that their termination is illegal or it's an illegal dismissal, they can also ask for back wages and.
Right. So, when it comes to preferences of claims of creditors, employees always number one, but it's priority yan.
If there's bankruptcy.
If there's bankruptcy, but in this case, there's no bankruptcy. In which case, they should pay, because it's not their closure was not based on an economic reason.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Mio posted, I'm planning to adopt my nieces aged 13 and 14 years old. They are illegitimate daughters of my brother, while their mother has another family. I live in the U.S. as a permanent resident. How and where do I start the process of adoption?
Okay, this is a little difficult because since you're in the U.S., this will be covered under the intercountry adoption rules. Usually, adoption here is under the auspices or the jurisdiction of the DSWD, because the DSWD will have to determine if you're an appropriate parent, that would adopt a particular child. In this case, DSWD will not have the opportunity to evaluate you as an adopting parent. So that is the rule when it comes to adoption.
Intercountry adoption.
Yeah. So I think the best solution there is you find out in your own country what are the rules when it comes to intercountry adoption. All right.
Okay.
And finally, Danilo commented, I always watch your show. I learn a lot from it. God bless and more power. So I thank you, Danilo. Thank you so much for watching Legal Help Desk. All right.
Yes, that is all the time we have for tonight. We would like to thank our viewers who've sent us their legal questions via social media. I'm Attorney Richie Pilares.
And I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno. If you have any comments or questions, share them with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages. You can also download the Solar News Channel app on your mobile devices from Google Play and the Apple App Store to watch previous episodes of Legal Help Desk. Join us again next Monday as we discuss your legal rights. Good night and God bless.
And municipal trial court in provinces, and this also include municipal circuit trial court.
All right. Now, what are the cases involved? When you say you have a money claim, it involves a number of possible scenarios. Like, for example, let's say a couple, a married couple that's separated, for example, and the wife wants to claim for support, and what she's asking for, let's say, is only 50,000 a month, which is less than 100,000. Would that technically fall under the small claims procedure?
Well, the law specifically provides that the claims are limited to money claims.
Okay, money claims.
So if it involves specific performance, it should not be filed in the small claims court. It should be filed in the family court, which has jurisdiction. If that is filed in the small claims court, the small claims court will dismiss the same for lack of jurisdiction.
So dapat it has to be a money claim. Diba?
Yes,
A
money claims
claim.
or claims for damages.
But let's say you're saying specific performance is not included in this kind of case. No? But let's say it's a contract for services. The contract for services, what are the specific, I guess, transactions in human transactions, interhuman transactions that are covered by small claims? For example, would it cover rent? Let's say
Lease,
contract of lease. Ganun, what types of transactions are involved?
The law specifically provides contract of loan,
Loan, okay.
contract for lease,
Okay.
contract of services, contract of mortgage.
Mortgage, okay.
Yes.
Right.
And then, in addition to that, the rules also covers damages arising from fault or negligence.
One of the problems involving money is when people borrow or owe you money for services rendered. The act of demanding payments is referred to as small claims. That is why former Supreme Court Chief Justice Rene came up with the rule of procedure for small claims cases. This rule of procedure allows any individual or business to file a case against someone who owes them money. This rule of procedure was specifically created for those involved in civil litigations for sums of money of no more than 100,000 pesos. The objective of this rule is to resolve these cases at the quickest time possible, cutting costs of litigation and widening access to courts. What then are the procedures for filing for small claim cases? Which court handles these cases? And how are these cases resolved?
Good evening. You're watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News Channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you. I'm Attorney Nepomuceno.
And I am Attorney Richie Pilares, sitting in for Attorney Karen Jimeno. Tonight, we will discuss your legal rights on small claims cases, what you need to know about small claims, and what you need to do to file for these.
And our guests for tonight are Attorney Ricardo Pilares Jr. and Attorney Ana Nava, associate from the Lu Mamangan Huco Law Office. Good evening, Ana.
Okay. Pakiliana,
So mga, let's say,
quasi-delic,
mga
quasi-contract.
banggaan ng konti, mga small bumps like that. Pwede yan.
Yeah.
Diba? You hit my bumper and it costs around, 20,000 pesos, for example. That's covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about there are cases when parties agree in the barangay level, right? They agree na I have a claim against you, and before the barangay official, we agree that you will pay me this certain amount.
Yeah.
And this person does not pay me. Can I still go to the small claims court and ask for the enforcement of my amicable settlement with Attorney Rod, for example?
Actually, in the execution of amicable settlement or compromise agreement, arrive at the barangay conciliation may be executed within 6 months. And after the lapse of that period, and the compromise settlement has been repudiated or has not been complied with, the aggrieved party may resort to filing small claims before the municipal trial court.
So 6 months? So you have to wait for 6 months before you can go?
That's specifically under the local government code. After the lapse of 6 months, the aggrieved party may seek the assistance of the municipal trial.
But that only applies though in a case where there's, both parties are in the same barangay, right? Because, for example, if we're not in the same barangay, then obviously I can go directly to a small claims court, right? Because conciliation in barangay disputes normally involve people who aren't from the same barangay. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So basically, if we're not in the same barangay, then I can go directly to a small claims court.
Yes.
Correct? All right. Now, can you tell us a little bit more on the procedure? And good evening, Rick. Thank you for joining us. You know, this is a very interesting topic because I think it affects most people. To some extent, all of us are involved in some kind of debt or money claim. Right? It's part of our daily lives, and it's either they're claiming against us or we're claiming against someone. No? And I think it's also important to stress itong what we call small claims, because usually a lot of people are a bit wary when they file claims against people, legal claims in court, because one, they don't want to file a case in court. It's too costly. It's such a hassle. You have to hire a lawyer. But this procedure that we're going to talk about, specifically small claims, we do away with all of that, right? So we're going to address that tonight. So let's start off, Richie.
So, Attorney Rick, can you please tell us more of what are small claims and how much should the claim be to qualify or to be considered as a small claim?
Small claims cover all cases involving 100,000 pesos and less, exclusive of the cost and interest.
Okay, so 100,000 and less. So in other words, if, for example, I enter into a contract and it's 101,000 pesos, it's not covered.
It is not covered,
so
absolutely.
you have to go to the regular courts.
Yes, the law is very clear.
All right, can you tell us, Anna, what makes this small claims procedure so special? Because this is interesting. I know that our guests are lawyers. But from what we know, lawyers are not involved in this procedure, right?
Yes,
Can you tell us more about that?
The lawyers are prohibited to appear before a small claims court, basically because the purpose of small claims, especially the rules on small claims, is to abbreviate or to shorten the usual regular court processes or undergone by. For example, in collection cases. And also, lawyers, the presence of a lawyer in these kind of issues would actually obfuscate or confuse the issues. Confuse the issues.
Because we lawyers tend to confuse things. Well, you know, let's face it, diba? As a lawyer, you normally try to you promote everything, you hype up everything that's good about your case, and you try to diminish or try to hide anything that will be bad for your case. In this case, it's just the plaintiff versus the defendant.
The defendant,
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
So, who can file this small claim?
Yes.
Actually, any person can file.
So, even a company, can a company file, or it has to be a natural person?
Of course, the party here is the company, but the company cannot act by itself. So it has to have a representative, and the representative must have must be armed with a secretary's certificate or a board resolution authorizing him to represent the company or corporation before the small claims court.
So no matter how big the company is, let's say it's a multi-billion peso company, Attorney Rick. Even if it's that kind of a company, they can go to a small claims court.
They can, as long as the claim falls within the jurisdictional amount of 100,000 pesos or less, exclusive of cost and interest.
All right. So that's interesting. Yes, Richie.
So where do you file these cases, these small claims?
Cases involving small claims in Metro Manila are usually filed in Metropolitan Trial Court. In the provinces, you filed it in the municipal trial court. In cities,